Solo queuing is often thought as a very negative experience for most players, whether it be a case of toxic teammates, playing against full 5 stacks, or just having downright bad players on your team.
Green, where is your problem? Missile alone ramp. Missile alone ramp.
I've solo queued almost all of my games in CSGO that led me to level 10, and I've continued to solo queue consistently on CS2, and I have peaked in the top 600 of North America. I found many different methods and just ways of playing the game that can make solo queuing a much better experience for you, so let me share some of them with you guys. My first tip is going to be on how you can add value to your team, and essentially that's just by being a pack player and playing with the team. A lot of players in solo queue will end up going places like Palace on Mirage or Apps, for example, and try and tend to lurk out and get a kill every once in a while just because it's an easy solo spot to play. But I find that a lot of the time this guy going Palace gets maybe 1 kill in one of the rounds, has the impact for there, but otherwise he ends up getting killed or just wasting time by sitting Apps. Whereas if you're playing more with the team, you can at least add some value by being tradable or being able to trade out a teammate. For example, let's say someone swings window here, you whiff your shot, your teammate trades you, it's a 1-for-1 trade. Whereas if you're in Palace, you swing out, you whiff, there's no trade there to happen, you're just dead and you're going to be a big liability to your team. My second tip is actually going to be mastering high impact CT positions. High impact CT positions tend to be things like window on Mirage or Con or Cat. Just generally you're going to be in the area where you're going to be taking a lot of fights and you're going to be consistently having impact on the round. If you can get really good at playing these positions, like Con is one that Donk likes to play a lot, then you will have a high impact on the game that you're playing. There's a reason that players like Donk and Kyosuke aren't playing positions like B Anchor on Mirage because they don't have any impact there. They can't make the best out of their skill set. Whereas if you become a really good Con player, you have a massive impact on if they can split towards B. You can plan pushes where your teammates are flashing from A and you're pushing at mid like this and you're taking the early duel, or you can push underpass. There's so many things you can do and you have a super high impact on the round. Easiest way to get good at positions and master them like this is by watching pro demos. Just hop on HLTV, look at a game from a map that pros are playing, and just watch the person that's playing the spot. If you want to get good at Con, watch a lot of Donk. Tip number 3 is actually learning solo plays. Sometimes playing standard on CT or even T side doesn't always work, and just by playing your positions and playing generally more passive, it's not always going to win you guys the round. So sometimes having a little solo play they can do here and there can change the course of a round or even change the momentum of the game. One of the most popular solo plays that we see people do all the time is by jumping out a window at the start of the round and going underpass and then taking this duel here. This just gets you in a fast engagement and you may get a free kill. So little stuff like that is super easy to pick up on when you're watching pro games, and it can have super high impact on rounds. And if you kind of have a book in your head of just things you can do by yourself that doesn't require a lot of team coordination, it can be super helpful. Tip number 4 is actually to start taking more initiative when you're playing. A lot of the time you're just gonna get into a lobby and there's gonna be no one talking or calling out any sort of strategies, and that's definitely the best time for you to take initiative and to stand up. Suggesting ideas such as a pistol round at the start of each half, or even asking if your team wants to execute on A site is a great way to have impact on the game, but don't get this confused with micromanaging. If you're consistently micromanaging everyone on your team, it can definitely work against you because not everyone likes to be micromanaged in kind of ways, because this can just put players in spots that they're not familiar with or comfortable with, and you might have someone on your team that's just running it down or going 0-7 because they don't understand how to play the role that they're playing. So let people play how they want to, but suggest some ideas here and there. Number 5 is actually all about mentality, and it's about keeping a good one. Having a good mentality can change the course of so many games. I've had so many games where I was like 9-3 or 8-4 that I've completely flipped over and won the game just because I had a good mentality and I kept my good vibes up, and well, we won the game. Even if your teammates are toxic or someone's just playing bad, the best thing you can do is just to keep trying your hardest, because at the end of the day, those are factors that you can't change. So why change your gameplay over something can't change? And for tip number 6 is actually just relates to number 5, and that is muting your teammates for the better. I know not a lot of people like to mute teammates, but I think it can be a good tool when someone's being toxic or just super annoying, because there's a lot of the times where you just get those people who are just unbearable to play with because of how they talk, or maybe they're just raging every round, or they're yelling at their teammate, or they're yelling at you. The best thing you can do is just mute them and focus on your own game. You may think that, oh, I'm losing their comms or whatever, but I promise most of the time it doesn't matter a whole lot because you're gonna be way more focused, you're just gonna play better, and your vibes aren't going to be shot from that. As any other game like Counter-Strike or just any tech FPS in general, communication is absolutely key, and I think it's something that a lot of players that are solo queuing kind of miss out on, and maybe they're just not forward enough with their communication. But a lot of the times I can see on maps like Ancient, let's say Elbow is smoked here. If you have a mid pinch going on and you're on the T side, you'll have your players going cat and your player elbow. The communication a lot of the time between these two sides of the map right here usually isn't too good. Sometimes you'll have the cat players peeking when they shouldn't be, and the elbow player is not out, or vice versa. The elbow player is all the way out here, he's taking the red duel, and the cat players aren't even peaked yet. Communicating to your teammates of when you want to peak or calling like a 3-2-1 swing sort of thing can be super beneficial, and I don't think enough players focus on it enough. And number 8 is to actually don't be too confident. Sometimes you can be way too overconfident and it ends up working against you. While confidence is good in a game like Counter-Strike and a lot of the time can benefit you, if you're too overconfident and you're making bad plays, that can be an issue. We've all seen the one guy who goes and calls window on Mirage and then continues to die in the first 6 rounds first, and is completely selling the game, and he doesn't want to switch spots, and he's kind of just egoing the position, and it's not good to be like that. On Ancient, I like to play Cave, and unfortunately it doesn't always go so well. It's a fun position to play, but I'm not the best at it, and sometimes I just don't win these duels and I'm costing my team the round. So a lot of the times instead, I know I'm a better mid player, so I'll decide to play mid instead with my other teammate. Try not to ego positions too much and just accept when you're losing your team in the game because you're not playing a spot correctly, or let's just say if it's a bad day or just whiffing shots. Number 9 is to learn supportive utility. Learning supportive utility like flashbangs and just the basic smokes in the game makes you a much better teammate, especially because on maps like on Ancient, players want to run out elbow all the time. If you know the best flashes, the best pop flashes for this mid flash here, it's going to be super helpful for your teammates, or same for vice versa for A main, or even if you have them for B, or literally any map. As long as you have the basic good flashes down, it's super helpful and it's going to get your teammates a lot more kills. And sometimes because you're going to be end up queued with other solo queue players, you just have to flash for them. They're not always going to communicate and call they need a flash, but if you see a teammate going for some sort of peak where there's going to be CTs there, maybe pop a flash behind them or just do something like that. Tip number 10 is to actually not care about who you're playing against. It's definitely easier said than done, but I see a lot of people get nervous when they get placed against like high elo players or just players that are better than them. For example, the other day I got put into a game against Jaba and Junior, which is super common on NA because there's not a lot of people playing, so you get games against pros. And let's say I played way differently than I usually do because I was kind of in my head about, oh, I'm playing against pro players, you know, let me try and make sure I do good this game. Hopefully I'm not selling the other good players on my team. And well, that kind of just ruined my performance for the game. The way I was playing the game was almost in a way where I was playing not to lose instead of playing to win the game. I wasn't taking any risks, I wasn't taking any duels because I just wasn't confident that I was better than these players and I was actually going to win the duels. And at the end of the day, confidence is super important in Counter-Strike, and if you want to be on a level playing field with these players, you gotta play like it. Tip number 11 is what I call to bring the vibe, and it's just being a good supportive teammate in terms of when you're communicating with them, cracking jokes, reassuring teammates when they make a bad mistake, and that sort of thing. I feel like little things like that can make a super big difference. Overall, being a positive person on the team can have a super big impact on everyone's vibes and just the mentality of the team in general, and I think it would do more than you think. It's super rare that I'll ever actually crash out on somebody in a game unless they're just being absolutely obnoxious or just super toxic for no reason. But besides that, I'm keeping it to myself, and even if you are a little bit like upset about what someone did or they made a bad play or whatever, just keep it to yourself, try and reassure them, and just try and keep it out of the game chat. And I promise your team's mentality will be a lot better. Tip number 12 is actually about avoiding tilt queuing. Yes, tilt queuing, something that I am very guilty of, and I'm sure you're probably guilty of it as well. And it's basically just the act of getting tilted one game, maybe having a super bad game like 13-2, you get completely dogged on, and then you go ahead and queue another instantly in spite because you want to get that elo right back. It has been a super long time since I've been on a significant loss streak, and it's because I just stopped tilt queuing. After a bad game, I take a break, go for a walk, go to the gym, literally do anything, go to my job or something like that, and just play again later. The game's always going to be there. You don't need to tilt queue. You don't need that 30 elo right now. You don't need that premier rating right now. It can wait. Just go chill for a little bit, play again later, and I promise you, you'll probably end up winning more games than you are right now. Tip number 13 is just to improve your mechanics. This doesn't matter if you're solo queue, duo queue, 5-stack, whatever. It's just getting better as a player. Having better mechanics, including movement, counter strafing, crosshair placements, everything like that is super good for you as a player. And the easiest way to do that is by using tools like refrag or this workshop map like CS2. This one's super popular for pros. There's a ton of them. Just using them to your advantage will help you get better mechanically. You'll have better aim, and just gonna get better as a player. Using workshop maps is one of the easiest ways I got better as a player, especially in CSGO. So I'll leave a few of my favorite ones in the description below so you can go check them out. This one's kind of the one I've just been using right now because it's super easy. I know everyone can't afford refrag, so check out the workshop maps. I'll leave a few below. And tip number 14 is to not focus on your previous game's performance. It can be super difficult to move on from a previous game where you had a bad performance, but the reality is that we all have bad games, bad days, or even bad weeks. Bad performances happen and you just have to move past them, because if you focus on them for too long, chances are it's going to reflect in future games, and that's the last thing that you want. And this one kind of applies with tilt queuing. Just take a break after a bad game. Go chill, watch some Counter-Strike, I don't know, go for a walk, go to the gym, do anything to get your mind off of it, and then just play again later, and you'll probably play pretty good. All right, guys, I got my final tip, the most important tip out of all these 15 ones I'm going to share with you guys today, and that is to have fun on Counter-Strike. At the end of the day, CS2 is a video game. It's here for a competitive, fun experience, and at the end of the day, you're angry when you're playing, you probably should be playing something else. The amount of players that I run into on Faceit that are just super angry at the game, like they're just having a miserable time, I don't understand it, because they're playing the game voluntarily. This isn't like a necessity for anybody. You can play whatever game you want, but you choose to play Counter-Strike and be super angry all the time. Doesn't make any sense. Have fun, improve, get better, learn from your mistakes, and just climb elo, get better, and you're gonna have a great time, I promise you. And yeah, guys, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed those 15 tips. A lot of these helped me climb in solo queue. I've been solo queuing a lot recently since I came back to the game. I've hit top 1000, top 600. I think it was the peak so far of the solo queue. Starting to get more duo queues in recently because it's not always the best experience solo queuing, but that's why I apply all these tips to make it a more enjoyable experience. If you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.